Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm married to TJ. He's my high school sweetheart. We've been married 33 years. I have 4 children and 4 grandchildren. And this is my story. I grew up in church. I know a lot of people's stories kind of start like that. I went to a Lutheran church and school. I went to a Christian day school from kindergarten through 10th grade. We were involved in church a lot. Everything that the church was doing, we were there doing. Any service that they had, we were there. Any activities, we were there. I knew church my whole life. I was taught about Jesus from an infant. I had a good foundation. I knew who Jesus was, and I knew what he did for me, and I knew that there was no other way to get to heaven without him. I knew that we couldn't get there by our own works. So I was definitely in a grace-based church, and I'm thankful for that. That's the extent of what I knew. I knew a lot of information. I learned about the Bible, and I learned about God and Jesus my whole life. So I had a lot of information up in my head. I knew, like I said, what he did for me, and I knew where I was going when I died. There was a big vacuum in the middle. And I didn't know what was missing until it was filled. Sorry, I get emotional about it because it's exciting, and I had saving faith. I believe that 100%. But I'm not sure I had faith for much else until God reached into my life and showed himself to me and showed me who I was to him. And that day, everything changed. Like I said, we went to church. I raised my kids the same way. We were in church, on a regular basis. We weren't just Christmas and Easter goers. We felt we were doing the right things, being active like we were told we were supposed to do. I sent them to a Christian day school also. And then through different course of events, some things that had to do with my husband's job. This may sound kind of like an excuse. We kind of started, not going to attending church as regularly. And then something started to change, and I can't put my finger on it other than both of us, and I'm speaking for my husband also, just because I was very tuned into how he was feeling when we would go to church. It was all I ever knew was this, all I ever known was this Lutheran religion, and so it was my comfort zone. We met, like I said, in high school, so he started attending with me, and basically it was all he ever known because he didn't know anything about it before he met me. Then he started coming to church with me. So we were very comfortable. We started to get uncomfortable. But I could feel it off of him that something wasn't clicking with him anymore, and when we would go to church. And so we started going less frequently and less frequently. Then we kind of came to the point where we didn't go for a while. I knew that wasn't right, because I knew that you're supposed to be in fellowship with other believers, and going to church is kind of part of your should be part of your walk. But there was a big span to where that wasn't part of what we were doing. So I decided that I couldn't just do nothing. I had to do something. So I started kind of doing my own devotions at home and reading the Bible. And I think, I wasn't the only one doing that. I'm not putting my husband down. Something was not clicking for him and he didn't know what to do. I just felt, now looking back, that God was trying to keep us connected whatever way he could. So that was my connection. I wasn't necessarily, didn't have much of a prayer life, I would say, other than what was written in the devotion books. But definitely started feeling more of a relationship kind of building with Jesus, and I wasn't really familiar with what that was all about. And so then we got to the point to where I came to my husband and I said, we both basically once in a while would say, we need to get back to church. We need to get back to church. So we knew we needed to do something. So I think we attended back to the church we had gone to for a long time, and something wasn't, we were like, this isn't it. Something's not right here. We don't fit here anymore. So then we decided to try a different Lutheran church, and because that was our comfort zone. That's all we ever knew. And my husband was adamant about, we liked traditional worship. We wanted the form and the function of what that looked like, and we were comfortable with that, and that's what we were going to do. And I can remember him telling me that whatever you pick, honey, whatever church you pick, I'm good with, but I just want it to be traditional. I'm like, okay, so it's my mission to find a church. So like I said, we ended up going to another Lutheran church, and the people there were wonderful, very nice and welcoming, and we really liked it there. But it wasn't too long to where we started feeling the exact same way we felt when we went to the other church. And then a girlfriend of mine who used to go to church with me and was also no longer attending, said, hey, do you want to try this other church I've been going to a couple of times? And I said, oh, okay. She said, there actually is a class that they're giving that I want to go to. And you know me, I do not want to do this by myself. And she said, I won't do it unless you do it with me. And so I said, okay, I'll do it with you. Why not? I got to do something. We got to do something. Something's not working. So I started joining this class with her, and she warned me. She said that this church is not like what we're used to. And I said, okay, I'm pretty much game for just about. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, let's try it. What could be so weird, right? She goes, no, really, it's different. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, she kept warning me, and I was like, it's no big deal. I'm open to it. Let's go. Okay, so we showed up the first night, and I can remember one of the leaders of our group that my friend and I were in asked what we wanted to get out of the class. And when it went around the table, it come to my turn, and I said, I want more relationship and less religion. And he just is like, big old smile on his face. He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, apparently that was the right answer. I don't know. I'm always looking to get the right answer. Anyways, so I'm not going to go into the detail about all the classes. It was a good class. At the beginning, I was very critical, really. I had a very critical spirit. I was nitpicking every little thing. My friend and I would debrief on the ride home, and what did we think about this? What did you think about that? And I was always trying to make sure everything was I was like, was that correct? Like, fact checking almost. I have to make sure that the things that are being taught to me don't go against, my faith. And once I got through that, once God kind of like, all right, enough. And I realized this was genuine, like the people there were genuine, and their love for the Lord wasn't fake, and they were teaching the correct gospel. Then my heart opened even more. One night was in the leader's home, and my friend and I, again, like coming from our very conservative, traditional background, were very uncomfortable with the out loud praying and the laying hands on and all of that. Still open to it, but very uncomfortable. We show up that night thinking the whole group's going to come, and it was only us two and one other person from the group. So no longer could we like kind of just blend into the background and hope we can pass by and skip us for prayer. No, we were all eyes on us, even though it wasn't about us, but that's the way we felt. Like we were very nervous about it. Sorry, touched my microphone. We were very nervous about it. But during the course of the evening, when we were singing, I had a burning bush moment. I didn't know that it was that at the time, but one of the leaders, the wife, was standing in her living room, and her eyes were closed, and she was singing, and it was obvious that to her, there wasn't anybody in the room. And the only person she was seeing was Jesus. And I was still white knuckled sitting on the couch, uncomfortable, but it got my attention. And I knew that that's what I was missing. And I said in my heart, I want that. So, a few classes later, we're getting towards the end here. Excuse me. The leaders have like a word from God for everyone. And we had already learned about the gifts of the Holy Spirit. And now, I mean, I'm familiar, again, I was taught a lot about the Bible, and I knew where it was in the Bible, and I knew that there were gifts. But pretty much through my learning, we focused on, there was pastors, there was teachers, evangelism, and everything else kind of fell under service. So I didn't really know much about other gifts, but we did learn about some of them, and I know there was an assessment given, and some people kind of like turn their noses up at assessments, only because I've heard that comment come out of people before. Now, I didn't know about a lot of the gifts, so I didn't feel like I could skew the results in any way, because I was unfamiliar with most of them, other than teaching, because I had done that. I taught Sunday school for many, many years. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna get teaching. That's what's gonna come up. If I'm gonna do this assessment, it's gonna be teaching. So I took the assessment, and yes, teaching was number one. Surprise, surprise. But then there was some surprising ones that fell number 2 and 3. Actually, they were all the same percentage, 2, 3, and 4, I believe, which I was like, oh, I don't even know what these are. So then I guess I'll just call them out. One was prophecy, and one was discernment. I can't remember what was number 4. I think knowledge. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. So I didn't know what those were, so I definitely later on started dipping into those and trying to find out what those were and what that meant for me. But we're at the end of the class time, and like I said, the leaders had a word from the Lord for everyone, and so they went around the room, and I think there was about 10 of us in the class. I don't remember if like 8 students, 2 leaders, but 10 of us in the room, I know. And I think I was third for prayer. So they got to me, they prayed over me, and I know they had it written down, and I still have it, and I still read it on occasion because it's a reminder of the day that I feel like God changed everything for me. And after they prayed for me, I don't remember anything else, to be quite honest. I don't remember the other people's prayers because the only thing I was focused on was the fact that it felt like God's hand was on my head. And I remember just not wanting that to stop. I was like, I don't want to move because I don't want that to go away. And inside my spirit, I felt like God turned me. And I can remember like turning inside my head, basically to the right. And I'm like looking this way, not literally, but inside of me, in my spirit, I guess you would say. And saying, God, whatever I was before, whatever that was that I was living, I know it looked good because I was active. I thought I was doing all the right things, but I knew something was missing. So I just said, whatever that was before, I don't want that. I want you. And I want to do whatever you want me to do. And that was the beginning of the Holy Spirit. And I didn't know what had happened to me until I realized that I was introduced to the Holy Spirit that day. And he's been with me ever since. And I'm different. And I'm thankful. And I'm loved. He showed me who I was to him. He said that he liked my heart. And I no longer feel like if I'm active in church that I'm still empty. I didn't understand why. I never felt like I was, even though I was doing things, I didn't feel like they were complete. I felt like I still had more to do. I wasn't doing enough. Something wasn't right. And it's because, really, I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was doing all of those things because I felt I had to, because I felt it was right, because I felt, what will others think if I don't? That's the conviction part. I was proud. And I did it because, let's be honest, it looked good, right? Fooling myself, saying, just working for the Lord. But I was working for myself. So, you'd think that would totally be gone, but it sneaks back up occasionally. And God lovingly puts a mirror in front of my face and says, who are you seeing? Who do you see? And if I can see myself, then I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. But if I can see him, then it's right. So after I feel like I guess you would call it a surrender moment. And I surrendered to God and said, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. There was a physical stirring. Like I felt like my guts were churning. And I was like, what is that? I'm experiencing things that I didn't know I would ever experience. And quite frankly, what I thought would be weird if I heard somebody else talking about it. Looking back now, I can kind of see where maybe the prophecy, the discernment gift, doesn't really matter what the gift is. It's honestly who the gift giver is. But I could kind of see now, maybe not my whole life, not when I was little, that maybe I could see evidence of it. And I'm not going to say that I can see stuff or, hear stuff, other than I do feel like I can hear God's voice. That would have been weird to me before, but now I'm like, well, this is just part of this is part of being in Jesus. We're supposed to hear God. That is that's a perk. To be quite honest, it's a perk. It's part of who we are. We now are connected through Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit. We are connected to the God who made everything. And I get to hear him speak to me. And I get to have him show me things. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Once the churning started, I got hungry. And I went home and I started devouring everything I could get my hands on. I was in my Bible. I was reading books on the gifts that I didn't know what really they were. I was listening to sermons from all kinds. I was no longer staying in my comfort zone. I was stepping out, and I wanted to know everything I could know about God. All the stuff that I feel like maybe I missed out on, not because it was intentionally kept from me. Maybe I just wasn't open to seeing it. But after that last class, like I said, I kind of started really studying with a different purpose. I wasn't studying necessarily to present something to someone. I was studying just because I just wanted more. I was feeding on God. At first I was angry. I was happy with what had happened to me, and I was excited about I knew, this new journey, this new walk with God that was going to be so different. But then I was upset. I felt like I was robbed. Nobody really talked about the Holy Spirit and what that meant, but God calmed me down and was like, you were not robbed. That was part of what you were supposed to go through. And maybe I wouldn't have appreciated if it had happened to me at a younger age. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking to myself, I'm 49, because I had just turned 49, and I was like, 49, and now, and now it seemed like that was a long time to wait, but I definitely wasn't mad at God, but I was just like, I wish I would have known this. I wish I would have known this then. But God has a plan, so I got past that. He, like I said, he kind of calmed me down and talked me off the ledge. I wanted to go tell people that you don't understand, there's more. And actually, wanting to go tell people is not a bad thing, not necessarily go correct people, but now I knew, oh, this this is like why you want this feeling. And I know, well, we're not supposed to talk about feelings and emotions, but I'm sorry, I feel stuff. And God showed me, first thing he showed me was that he is an emotional God. And so emotions are part of who we are and part of how he made us in his image. So I know that, we aren't supposed to be led by them, and the Holy Spirit can help us control those, but he gives them to us. So, but that new feeling that I had, that's what I wanted to share with people. I was like, people need to know. You need to know that there is something more and that we're missing out. I learned that not everybody's super receptive to that. They also have to have their hearts softened and be ready to receive that information. So I definitely felt awake. Didn't know I was this morning, God put a word in my head. He said, you were a sleepwalker. I was like, I was a sleepwalker. I was just blindly walking through my Christian life, thinking I was doing, the right thing or what I was supposed to be doing. But like I said, for all the wrong reasons. And now I'm not a sleepwalker anymore. I'm awake.